I have a confession to make. I'd love to say that I'm immune to the problem that I'm speaking about today, but that would be a lie. I found it pretty ironic that while writing a speech about distraction, I was distracted, all because of the notifications on my phone from Duolingo, simply reminding me to complete my lessons so that I wouldn't lose my 280-day streak. And I know what you're all thinking. Yes, a cartoon owl has more authority in my life than my actual responsibilities. But it's not necessarily my fault. You see, I'm part of the generation that just can't focus. So today, let's explore how shrinking attention spans are reshaping the way we learn, the way we understand information, and ultimately, the future of our generation. Because the future belongs to those who can focus. We live in a digital world built around speed, stimulation, and constant change. But why is this the case? Social media especially is built to deliver fast, unpredictable rewards, creating dopamine loops that train us to crave constant novelty and keep checking for just one more. And for us teens, that can add up fast. Common Sense Media states that in 2021, teens averaged a total of 8 hours and 39 minutes of screen time each day. Every scroll, like, or notification gives our brains a quick hit of stimulation. And over time, we get used to that pace. I know my brain now expects a Spider-Man No Way Home level plot twist like every 5 seconds. I'll open a book and my brain is like, where's the plot twist? Where's the betrayal? Where's Zendaya? But just like the world forgets Peter Parker, our brains are forgetting how to focus. Attention becomes fragmented, and we get used to constant novelty instead of sustained focus. As a result, slower activities like reading begin to feel unusually hard, even boring, because sitting with a page of stagnant black text over a white background can start to feel mundane almost immediately, especially since it doesn't move, light up, or buzz at my face. And this impact can be seen on children today, as a 12th grade reading score fell 3 points from 2019, those results being the lowest ever recorded for that assessment, with 32% of high school seniors scoring below basic in reading. And when a whole generation struggles to focus deeply enough to read, the consequences don't stop at school. They spread into society. When we lose the ability to focus for long periods of time, information is presented in whatever way we're willing to listen, whether that be a TikTok, a reel, or a meme. Today, more and more information is being consumed in headlines, captions, and short clips. We scroll past complex issues summarized in 6 words or less, with context being lost and opinions being formed too early. For example, a headline might scream, "Eating ice cream linked to crime." And at first glance, as someone chronically addicted to ice cream, that sounds terrifying. But in reality, the article simply talks about how both ice cream sales and crime rates both rise during the summer. So the connection is just a coincidence. Don't worry, eating ice cream doesn't actually make anyone commit crimes. Phew. But the same oversimplification can mislead people and amplify misinformation. According to the MIT Media Lab, false information spreads significantly further and faster than the truth, with falsehoods being 70% more likely to be reposted. But when people form opinions too quickly or only see sensationalized snippets, it can open the door to manipulation. In democracies, especially during election season, citizens are expected to understand complex issues and make informed decisions. But when headlines replace context, voters can make choices based on partial facts. This can lead to poorly supported policies and even hacking campaigns, targeting those who are misinformed. Overall, confusion spreads faster than clarity. Fear spreads faster than facts. faster than understanding. So how can we change this? Are we really in control of our futures? Well, if attention spans continue to shrink and digital stimulation dominates young people's lives, the consequences for future generations could be severe. Right now, a lot of teens are in what researchers are calling a loneliness epidemic, where face-to-face hangouts and real conversations are being replaced by scrolling for tiny hints of satisfaction. We can see this through a Pew Research Center survey, which states that nearly half of US teens report feelings of loneliness and isolation, and also they say that they're online almost constantly, which shows how their lives are being lived through a screen. Loneliness has been linked to more depression, more anxiety, worse sleep, lower motivation, and bad grades. And this isn't abstract. The CDC reports that in 2023, 40% of high school students experienced persistent feelings of sadness or hopelessness, and only 58% felt they received the social and emotional support that they needed. And this epidemic doesn't just end with teens. The US Surgeon General reports that nearly half of US adults experience feelings of isolation and seclusion. But this feeling of seclusion has a much greater impact. So the cost isn't only emotional, it's intellectual. Innovation itself is at risk because it doesn't happen in 5-second bursts of dopamine. It happens in long, messy stretches where your brain is allowed to wander, fail, and connect the dots. In fact, some of the world's biggest innovations, like Velcro, Post-its, and microwaves, were made as a result of simple boredom, where creativity thrives the most. If attention spans continue to shrink, the next big innovation of 2040 might just be a new flavor of boba tea. And don't get me wrong, I love boba, but I'd rather we invent cures, not just new ways to waste my money. The good news is that solutions exist. Set aside tech-free time daily to let your brain either wander freely or focus deeply, because creativity thrives in those quiet moments. Engage in long-term projects that you're passionate about, that require critical thinking and policy making. And finally, engage in media literacy, so you can separate fact from noise, make informed decisions, and solve the world's biggest problems. Well, this TED Talk took a lot longer to write than it should have. And now, you know why. But if you want to remember one thing from today, let it be this. The future belongs to those who can focus. Thank you.